I want to teach you the 5 essential team members that you need in order to make your event successful. And so you can do what you need to do, which is connect with your customer and make sure that you're reaching the goal that you have for that event. So let's start with number 1, which is a photographer. That is the first essential team member that you are going to need at your event. Now, you might just be getting started. So maybe you have $100 for this event or it's your first live event. That's fine. These people can be friends of yours. It could be your spouse. I don't want you to think about that. What I want you to think is that these are essential people, essential team members that you need. And then as you grow, like when you get to my level, I have 15 years of doing events. Our teams are giant, but these are the first 5 essential team members, okay? And number 1 is a photographer. Because you have put together this event, you have your guests there, you have things branded, and as much as you think that you're going to take photos and you're going to take videos, no, you're not. You're just not, because there's a million other things. And again, you need to be connecting with your client. So get a photographer, or get a friend that's really, really good with their iPhone. Get them to take photos and videos of everything so that you have content afterwards, so that you have everything documented. Think about all the content that, if not, you're leaving on the table. And again, I always say, oh, I'm going to take so many photos. No, I don't. Even at my professional events now that I do, and the clients have photographers, we hire our own to come in and take photos, because God knows that I am not going to remember to, snap some photos with my iPhone. And tip, when people are walking into the event, there's this disclaimer that you can put, and you can just print it out and put it on a stand. And it says that, by attending this event or by entering this event, your photo, will be taken and might be used for marketing or promotional purposes, something like that. I'm actually going to write it out and I'm going to link to it in the show notes. So just go down there, print this, and just put it on a stand somewhere, or you can put it in like a little easel or something on the table at registration desk. What this does is that you are telling your guests that you are going to use these photos, and they might be in the photo if they're in the event, and you're going to use these photos for promotional purposes. So there's a little tip for your photographer, and this works even if the photographer is your friend. So first essential team member is a photographer. So the second person that you need in your team is your guest relations person. Now, this is the welcome committee that makes everyone feel welcome. They are registering your guests. They're getting them their swag bags. They're answering questions about the offer or what is the Wi-Fi code. They're constantly interacting with your guests and making sure that they feel taken care of, so that you have a good vibe, right? I call this person the vibe, so that you have a good vibe going on. And especially if someone's like disgruntled, let's say there's someone that's mad because they feel like they're not seated where their ticket said they were going to be seated. This is the person that goes in and makes sure that that gets taken care of, right? That fire is put away really fast, and that keeps the vibe, where you want it to be, so that you can make your pitch and you can do your training or whatever it is that you're doing at the event. Now, here's a tip. If you are a very introverted person, as I am, definitely bring your most extroverted friend or employee to be that guest relations person. And it helps so much, because I know I get into those moments where after a while, and I've been talking a lot, I get very introverted, like, oh my gosh, okay. And my extroverted guest relations person is like, oh, come, hey, have you met this person? Hey, look, oh, hi. Like, she's always just going. So it's so helpful to keep that networking and to keep the vibe going. So a guest relations person, definitely essential to the success of your event. So the third person that you should definitely have on your team is a tech director. And this is my favorite person on the team, because I actually am a very tech person as far as like software and online and editing and things like that. But when it comes to lighting and Wi-Fi why is the projector not working, or why is, I don't know, the sound coming out of the wrong speaker? I have no idea. And this is what the tech director does. So a tech director is a tech nerd that just knows all these things that can help you, because tech is so important. Like I said at the beginning, having bad lighting and sound can kill an event really fast. And you cannot go address why the Wi-Fi is out or why the lights are flickering when you're, in the middle of your pitch or when you're in the middle of your training. So having a tech director is super important. When I started, my tech director was my husband because he's very techy and he's great at this. So I always had him there. And now we have these professional tech directors. Sometimes we bring in people from Belgium, depending on the scale, but they are very, very important. And I'm going to tell you a story about this event audit that I did a couple months ago. And I remember it was just so bad. I was being it was horrifying because the speaker, this multi-millionaire speaker, gets off the stage because the screen behind him wasn't working. And he gets off the stage during his presentation and goes down to this little rinky-dink DJ booth thing to start fidgeting with it. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he's pitching that he's this multimillionaire and he's teaching us all these things, to be a multimillionaire entrepreneur. And he's like getting off to go deal with the tech. I mean, it looks so bad, right? It looks like, if this person couldn't even figure out their tech beforehand, like, what do they know about, becoming a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur? I was just like, okay, like this, no. And in my estimate, that probably cost him $20,000 plus in sales, because at that moment, you no longer look like a professional. So that is how important it is to have a tech director there, making sure lighting, sound, Wi-Fi, your projector, your presentations, your PowerPoints, your LED screens all work properly so that you look like a professional and you look like you know what you're talking about. So get a tech director, super important. So the fourth person that you need on your team is definitely a stylist. Now, this is one that I have to kind of convince people sometimes, but think about it. Your customers, your clients are about to go into this live experience, this event that represents your brand. So if the event looks like a mess, your brand looks like a mess. If the event is unorganized and, I don't know, it's in some dark ballroom with brown carpet and no window, your brand looks like it's dark and like unlit and frumpy, right? So it is really important that your event reflects what your brand is and that it makes your customers feel what you want them to feel when they do business with your brand. And that's where the stylist comes in. So we all have a friend that has a great eye that can just look over your plans and they can give you some tips on, okay, this is what I would do with the furniture, or, just make sure you frame this way, just to make it branded, just to make it cohesive. And if you don't have that friend, there's a bunch of event stylists online. You can just search for it that will look at your plans and they'll create a whole entire mood board for you. They offer that service. I know because we used to do it back in the day. We don't anymore, but they're out there and they'll do a mood board for you. They'll send you some links of what you need to get. And now you can recreate it and make sure you have a great event. So that's a great way to start. And then later you'll get an actual stylist. That's where we're at, right? We have our stylists actually go to the event and, they're tweaking things. They're making sure things always look good so that that customer gets that experience and really understands your brand. And that, again, that they feel that they're like, wow, this brand is amazing. Look at this event. So the final person that I want you to have on your team is a logistics coordinator. And this person's job is just to make sure that everything that you have planned, everything that is supposed to happen on the day of your event happens. They just literally go down the timeline and they make sure that everything is set up, that the speakers go on time, that the lunch is set up 30 minutes before the breakout so that all the guests are on time and can get their lunch. They're literally just going down the list, making sure everything happens. And they are also the point of contact for that day. You're not the point of contact for that day. They are the point of contact for that day. So if someone's lost, let's say there's a speaker that's lost and they need directions, you point at your logistics coordinator. Or a guest has a question about something, You can point to the guest relations person or to your logistics coordinator. So that person is just every single question. They're just fielding questions and being the planning version of you so that you can do your job. And one of the things that I love to do is I love to handle my phone. So literally, I want you to take your phone that day and give it to your logistics coordinator because they are you 2.0. And they are in charge of fielding questions, getting phone calls, doing all that stuff so that you can 100% focus on your customers. And that's it. Back when I started Love Style Events and we used to do weddings, I remember I used to always tell the brides that you can be the bride or you can be the planner, but you can't be both. And that is the same thing with corporate events. You can be the CEO, you can be the main speaker, you can be the expert, you can be the motivator, but you can't also be the photographer, the guest relations person, the stylist, the tech director, and the logistics coordinator. You just can't. So I suggest you leave that all to your team and you focus on connecting with your customers and making sure that you reach the goal you have for this event. Because at the end, that's the ROI. That is why you put this thing together in the first place. So focus on that and then get these 5 essential team members to focus on everything else that you need to do.